Stay tuned for the next Just Outdoors. We're going to have a couple from Itasca County, Stuart and Phyllis Anderson, and they are small bore shooters, 22 shooters, target shooters. A lot more they are than that, but we're going to be talking about the history of them shooting for the last 50 years. They've got a lot of history and a lot of experience in shooting, and we're going to be talking to this fine couple on our next show. Just Outdoors is brought to you in part by
Jervelin Hardware Hank, Deer River. Jervelin Hardware offers a broad selection of paints and sporting goods and a complete line of plumbing and electrical supplies. Jervelin Hardware, 108 Main Avenue, Deer River.
Meds One Emergency Medical Services. Meds One provides mobile advanced life support, community paramedic primary care services, and education, event medical support, and consulting. Preserving lives and improving health. In an emergency, always call 911.
This program is sponsored in part by Brewed Awakenings Coffee House. Brewed Awakenings is a green business with the mission to be a cafe where a person can eat every day and be healthy. Nurture your inner being at Brewed Awakenings, downtown Grand Rapids on Highway 2 East, across from the courthouse.
Hi, my name is Tom Chapin, and welcome to Just Outdoors. It's a program to bring you the bare facts about the woods, the waters, and the wildlife of Itasca County. Today we have two special guests, and we're going to be talking about small bore shooting. If any of you are interested in shooting small bore, we're going to get the information on this. And we have with us a couple that have been around for a while shooting, and over 50 years, and I've known them for over 50 years, and they probably are the iconic couple in the county that can lead you into this sport. And we're going to be talking about the history of it and what's going on right now. So welcome to the show, Phyllis Anderson.
Hi, Tom.
And Stuart Anderson.
Thank you.
The Anderson couple.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody that knows about shooting and small bore indoor range shooting, handgun, right, and small bore 22 rifle shooting and target shooting.
Primarily rifle.
Yeah,
Yep.
would know you.
Yep.
And would know you, Phyllis, because you have instigated and started and kept more programs going here in northern Minnesota than anybody. And we're going to be talking about your history as far as being secretaries of a lot of groups in this area. And Stuart, we're going to be talking about, you know, how long you've been involved in this sport and what you feel like you've accomplished and where it's going from here. And some of the negative stuff that's been going on too, as far as trying to find places to shoot.
Yeah.
This is a big thing here.
Yes.
So I think we'll start out with you, Stuart. First of all, how long have you been in Minnesota, in Itasca County? Actually, we've known each other for a long time. We're from Hibbing.
Yep.
And I remember you back when I was a teenager.
Correct.
In the Isaac Walton League, and
Yep.
I was only 17, 18 years old.
Yep.
And so that's how far we go back. But tell us about how you started, how you got interested in the sport of indoor small bore shooting.
Well, to make a long story short, we'll start about 1962.
Okay.
Got out of the Navy and married this young lady here from Deer River at the time.
That was 52.
Deer River gal.
Yeah. Well, West Cohasset.
Okay.
And wound up out in Washington, D.C. for a few years at the University of Maryland, and then Tennessee, and suddenly we wound up back in Minnesota in 1959. In 1960, we in the meantime, down in Tennessee, we did hunt and everything.
Sure.
So she's an active hunter and so on, deer hunter with me and so on. But anyway, we came back to Minnesota and Hibbing, and in 1962, I believe it was, I started firearm safety training. And she started doing that about a year afterward, following me. She got certified to do it also.
So you two have been teaching kids.
Yeah, that's
Who aren't
54
kids
years
anymore.
ago. Yep.
A lot of them.
Some of them
Since
are great.
1962.
Right.
That's amazing. You're still doing it.
Yes.
In the Deer River
we just
area?
finished a class in Deer River this past season.
Yeah.
But
Okay, then starting from 62, how did you develop into having this as such a passion?
well, we were very interested in shooting. We had a real active group in Hibbing. There was a small bore club, the Hibbing Rifle and Pistol Club, and I'm still a member of it. Been active with it since 1950, or 1962 or so.
Yeah.
And we just started at the Greenhaven School. We taught every year there for several years, a couple classes, but about 2. And then I moved out here after there was a little problem with the employment. The company I worked for was a corporate merger, and eventually they wiped it out. We did engineering. I did engineering work. It was very
Still doing
interesting work, but that was beside the point.
Yeah.
And then I came back, kind of semi-retired, and was still working as a consultant on it. But basically, I've been out here and took up they had an activity in the Deer River Sportsman Club, and I also joined the Itasca Gun Club. But in the process back then, we also were active with the Arrowhead Rifle League.
Yes.
And that was a very active organization. There were 13 teams. I could let her tell you probably more about that because she wound up secretary of it for over 40 years. And that we shot in the schools, all the schools on the Iron Range. There were 13 teams, 11 of them shot in school ranges. So they had ranges in the schools, and we carry on our training there and our active matches. It was just like a bowling league. Every week we'd shoot against a different town. We still are. We still have that league, but there's only 3 teams still active, and that's Hibbing, Grand Rapids, and Virginia. Those are the only ones remaining.
Out of the
Before it
13
used to be
teams,
International Falls, Duluth,
Yeah.
Superior. There was multiple teams on the Iron Range.
Yeah. Phyllis, did you were secretary to a lot of this, or just the league itself?
The league itself, and I took over. They did not have a president or treasurer. The secretary did more or less everything, and had to remember and get organized for the coming year, and getting the teams organized so that they would meet and be able to shoot each other compete against each other, I should say. And it worked out. And I was secretary for 47 years and,
Okay.
and filled in a few times before that. But
What can you remember some of the other areas that you traveled to other than the Virginia Hibbing? I mean, that were still going back then? And we're talking about 60s and 70s here?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was, I could start out at Hibbing, and then Virginia, and then Cook, and then Bowabic, and Aurora, and
International
Falls, and Duluth Superior. And
There was Duluth and Superior had separate teams at just about the time we started. They merged to one.
Then later on, we got Grand Rapids folks involved, and so the Itasca Gun Club got involved.
I remember traveling when I was young with you, because I was involved in this too. I started shooting when I was in high school and all through college. And I remember going to Cloquet. Is that is that one of them too? Down there?
It was Duluth Cloquet.
Duluth Cloquet, okay. It was a great time. I remember, it was Saturday morning, we'd get up and early and head down to these places and shoot and compete, and just a great time. Now, do you remember a lot of young people shooting at that time?
Oh, yeah.
And what were there older people and younger people combined in
It
these?
it was
groups?
basically an adult shooting group, except they wanted to get their kids involved, and if the kids were interested in shooting, they were allowed to come along as long as they did their homework and so forth and so on for school, and a lot of them, you know, had that. So
Well, a lot of those people now, they were recruits back then, are still shooting or shot for a long time.
yep, and some of them are grandparents now.
I remember a guy by the name of John Pash.
Oh yeah.
In Hibbing, and it was his son Herb
Yep.
Pash.
Herb Pash's son.
And those were just
John
amazing
Pash was the father. Herb Pash was the son.
And then Kirsten Pash was, she was the daughter, but
she wound up
Herb's-
a women's national champion one year.
a women's national champion out of Hibbing
Yep.
for small bore shooting.
Yep. We had another one as Danny Bauso was junior championship at Camp Perry.
Wow.
And he's still here and he's still shooting. He
Isn't
moved
that-
back into the area and he's still shooting.
that
And he
amazing?
took over now as secretary of the Arrowhead Rifle League.
Yeah, yeah. Do you get involved in handgun at all?
Yeah, a little
Just
bit.
in permit to carry class and so on. But
Okay, do you teach a permit to carry class?
Yes.
correct.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay. And how often do you do that?
We do about 2 a year out of Deer River. We have one in the spring and one in the fall.
Okay. Well, since we're there, let's get that out of the way. When permit to carry class, that's what does that allow you to do?
Basically, if you have a pistol and want to go hunting or something with it, the laws adhere. You have to keep it cased and you have to transport it properly like any firearm. But with a permit to carry, you can, and it doesn't have to be concealed, but fundamentally it's very desirable just for society and acceptance. That because sometimes it's legal to walk around with a gun on your hip just like you see in the Western movies and so on. But
You couldn't do that legally.
You can
right?
do that, but
in most areas, it's not
really
restricted.
politically correct because
Okay.
people get a little.
Well, it's a
we
concealed
encourage
carry.
people to keep it concealed and so on.
Okay.
And fundamentally, you're allowed to carry it then into places. There are certain restrictions, places you can't, but
There'll be a sign up, won't there, someplace in most areas where
yeah,
you can't?
there's certain if a business doesn't want you to carry it on, they have to put up a sign that's so big and so it's very conspicuous and so on.
Yeah.
To let people know that. And
So it's kind of up to you.
Now, it's usually churches, hospitals, government buildings,
Yes.
like your town hall, what type of thing.
But almost any place else within the city of Grand Rapids,
Yep.
if you have a permit to carry, you could carry that handgun
correct.
concealed
Yep.
on you.
And most of those signs have been taken down in most places because they realize that if a person's gotten that permit to carry, he's a responsible person because he's been checked by the FBI for records and everything, and he's been trained. He or she has been trained. I should say he or she because the last class we had out of 13 students, nine of them were female.
And this was where, in Deer River?
Deer River.
Really?
Yes.
9 females on
Yeah.
it. Wow.
Normally we have about 20, 25.
All different ages?
Every time President Obama has come out for more gun restrictions, all of a sudden we get a lot more applications for permit to carry and so on. Because, the thing is, there's been so much upsetting about the police are very effective, but they only come after the problem, and there's been some real concerns about personal safety with the foreign relations and everything of certain things, you know. So
without a permit to carry, would you be restricted in carrying that gun then?
Yes.
Within a city limits or anywhere really?
Correct.
I suppose.
Yep.
Other than hunting.
Yep.
But you could carry it uncased, in a case and unloaded.
Uncased,
anywhere.
in a case and loaded, right. But of course, that's not a very active defense weapon then, because you don't have.
But I mean, without a permit, you can carry a cased and unloaded handgun anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're asked to leave because you are carrying, then you must leave.
Okay.
And if they require it, well, like schools, you can't be even in the parking lots. You're not supposed to carry. So I mean, you can't have it, you know, and then put the gun in your car.
Yeah.
That's still considered on the property.
But it's kind of up to the honesty of the person at
That's
that
right.
level, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, if they go into an institution or whatever and they have a who's going to know?
Right.
But so it's up to them. But it could involve in a violation there, couldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you do this 3 times a year or so.
Right.
Put a lot of people through. How many years have you been doing that?
We started with the Itasca Gun Club as assisting them probably about 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And gradually we went on, and there's a certain training the instructors have to take. We were told at Deer River, it says, you know, hey, we're pretty old here. We aren't going to be doing this very much longer, so you've got to get some more support. And all of a sudden we got 5 or 6 more guys.
Great.
But they signed up for the training, which is not cheap. There's a training cost and everything. And so we have a real good background in Deer River on assistance on the training. And
Right
so
at the end of the show, we'll tell people where they can go or where they can get their kids to go
Sure.
to get involved in this sport.
Yep.
Okay, we'll hit that. But right now, why don't we get into the shooting itself? Because I think
Yep.
people don't really understand a lot about what goes on at the range. And is this a national rules on how many shots you have to take at a certain target and all this? Is this a...
No, this is we're talking firearm safety now.
No,
training.
well, I'm actually no. I'm okay on the firearm safety. I think you've been teaching firearm
Okay.
safety for many years.
Yep.
How many people have you put through that per year? I mean,
Well, that's kind of a wild guess, but Shelley Patton, who has been the training officer for the DNR for years, asked me that question, and she said, well, it's thousands or something, but I started to think, you know, in 50 years, and I kind of roughed out a figure today, and it came to a little over 15,000 or so.
15,000 people.
I don't know how accurate I was estimating average class size and then trying to mix how many classes. But what happened in Hibbing, Doc Halper and I were both experts in our field. He was health and I was in the marksmanship shooting. But we were both teaching the class, and we decided, why don't we specialize in our, you know, and we'll work with the other instructors, but I'll just teach marksmanship and he'll just teach. We started doing that, and I wound up teaching marksmanship for every class that went through up in Hibbing. That included there were 3 or 4 towns that also came and did there. So those classes, I would do that bit for every class. So that's how I wound up with a lot more classes than people, a short part of them and so on. That's where the big numbers came in on.
Phyllis, did you accompany him on most of this?
Most of them I did, and not only that, then after his company kind of went down the drain, why he moved out to the lake and so out in the Deer River area. Then he wound up working with the firearm safety out here, and left me up in Hibbing to take over and continue doing what we'd been doing. So I did that for a couple of years before I finally moved on.
Moved on to over here in this area. Okay. Well, boy, that's amazing. So all this firearm safety, all these people, you're kind of like an iconic couple to a lot of 15,000 people probably could remember. You know, you remember who your gun safety instructor was. Yeah. You just do. You remember back. You know, how many years? That's one thing you do remember in your life. Who taught you?
Yeah, the classes themselves consist of at least a minimum of 12 hours of training and so on. For each kid has to put that much time into it and so on.
So in Deer River, what do you got, about 40, 50 kids that go through that a year over there?
Roughly.
About that, if I remember that, because I was involved over there for 6 years. So, and I remember you coming to the class and shooting. And I remember the range. You got a great range over there, and a great place to hold classes there in Deer River, as well as Grand Rapids here too. So, but you do assist in Grand Rapids too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so both.
We have in the past, as far about the permit to carry, but basically we do most of our work with Deer River now.
With the firearm safety.
And for the permit to carry, that is, we're doing it as agents of the Itasca Gun Club, even though it's a Deer River class putting it on, and we pay back a fee out of that. What it costs for it back to Itasca Gun Club, because they went to all the work to getting the state certification and so on.
Sure. Sure. Okay, great.
The gun shooting itself now
Yeah.
is basically four-position training, just like the military and so on. You're prone, sitting, kneeling, and standing.
Prone, sitting, kneeling, and standing. So anybody that shoots in a league or shoots this type of thing.
Here's a firearm safety group on the range with a shooting the sitting position.
Okay. All right. So every kid that comes in there, or anybody who wants to shoot
Yep.
in a league, shoots all four of those positions.
The league shoots all four positions, and the training for firearm safety, we're limited in how many shots we have in firearm safety because the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, furnishes us 15 rounds.
Right.
So we shoot 5 prone, 5 sitting, and 5 standing. So they get that three different
Well, let's talk about league shooting so people know if they want to join something like that, what they're going to get into, what's demanded of them. So the 4 positions for sure.
Yep. There's the prone, sitting. I've got here's a group. I think this was where they were shooting in the shooting sports center. That's where they had a 50-yard indoor range here, but that's not here anymore. Anyway, in this picture you see the Hibbing. There's a mixed-up group here. So this is sitting.
Okay, now those are okay.
This is the group, but part of that's only part of them. This is the whole line at that particular time, shooting.
All right, so that's they all line up and they shoot.
Actually, they're in the kneeling position.
Kneeling, okay.
Yeah.
Now I see all different ages there.
Yep.
Right. I mean.
Yeah.
All different ages. So you really try to recruit young people to keep this thing going.
Yep.
And now you're down to 3 clubs, and it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tough to keep things going. So, okay, so there's the kneeling position. Looks like you got about 12 or 15 people spread along there. All right. And also, how many shots are required? How many shots do you take at each position?
Well, normally there are NRA competition in most of this. There are rules and regulations.
That's what I was wondering.
All
this is a
fundamentally
national thing, isn't it?
based on the National Rifle Associations, and they have rule books that are about that thick. And but it's the same format as has been common in the military for years and so on for the basic training for marksmanship. And they shoot prone, sitting, kneeling, and standing.
And how many shots?
Basically, in a match, 10 shots in each position.
That's 10 for record.
Yeah, 10 per record.
A total of 50 for record.
If it's a metric target, it may be 20 shots in each position, depending upon the type of match and so on.
Okay, 50 foot, 75 feet.
Indoors, 50 feet. Outdoors, 50 yards or 50 meters, depending upon if it's metric or if it's regular English inches.
You're talking about shooting indoor and outdoor?
Yeah, here's a 50-yard target.
Okay, hold that up there.
That's for
that's a 50-yard target.
That's for 50 yards, right?
Right. Now, are there scopes on these rifles?
The matches vary. You have any sight, which could be either scope or iron sights, or it could be limited to iron sight matches and so on.
He's got to hold it.
Now, we have a national match, and this is a 100-yard target. This gets a little bigger than your camera view probably, but it's just 3 targets on one paper.
Now, 100 yards with a .22 rifle is kind of pushing it, isn't it?
Oh, not really, because you're supposed to put all your shots into that little circle there, 1 inch in diameter. So it's,
yeah,
About
okay.
the size of a nickel.
Wow, so that's how good these people get after a while.
Yeah, it isn't the average off-the-shelf of a sporting goods store rifle or so. These are most of them get into precision rifles, which we.
I remember the name Anschutz. Is that a rifle that's German?
Yep.
A rifle
German
that is used fairly common. Are there other types?
Well, way back, I used to have a Winchester 52, and then Remington had a 40X model, and they were very precision compared to the others. They could shoot up to 1-minute groups. That's 1 inch and 100 yards, and in the Anschutz, I've got 2, 3 of them at home there that that shoot a lot better than I do. And that's, of course, that's, you know, I've been an active shooter until this past year. We've been real active in that. The age has caught up to me, Tom. I just can't hold that gun steady like I used to.
Well, there's a lot of us like that. You don't have to be that old to run into that situation.
Yeah, 86 years has kind of put a limit on capabilities. I've been very fortunate health-wise, so I still participate. But
so if a person wants to involve himself in this sport, he has to have a gun. I mean, you're not gonna, nobody's going to supply him a firearm.
Right.
So
well, we used to have the club. The club had guns, and they still do. Itasca Gun Club and Hibbing Rifle Club, they have clubs that if people want to learn to shoot, they can join as a member, and usually the member is pretty reasonable in these clubs compared to what they are in Twin Cities areas and so on. Why, you can, I think, Itasca's, your secretary at Itasca, what is it, about $30 or so?
Yeah, and it depends on if you're a senior citizen, you get a cheaper rate. And
well, if you're a senior citizen in Hibbing, you get a real cheap rate. I get free membership there over 80.
Well, you should. I mean, you know, you put in your time.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused again on the sights now.
Okay.
When you're shooting, league shooting, you can shoot with optics, scope?
The league shoots are open sight, any sight. You can shoot telescope, and most people do. But
well, you would think
you
that'd
can
be
shoot
more
iron sights. I take just recently, Amy Beluzzo, Bob Beluzzo's wife, he was the superintendent of schools there, but he was in one of those pictures as a shooting there. Amy always shot iron sights, and she outshot everybody. So
with the scopes? She outshot people with scopes?
Oh, yeah.
At 50 feet?
That was indoors at 50 feet, and she could do the same thing at 50 yards and 100 yards.
With the open sights?
With the open sights,
so
with precision open sights.
Well,
literally, a good shooter can shoot just as well these are precision sights, micrometer adjustments on them and so on. But they get the gun sighted in, and they get the sight picture that it's a matter of...
and there's slings on these rifles too, right?
Oh, yeah.
For different positions. Standing, you don't get
okay. That's got to be the toughest, right?
Speaking of sights, the scope only shows the wiggle a lot more when you are up there.
Yeah, literally.
Sure.
Because a couple of years ago, when I started having my strength failing on me, I decided to go to iron sights because with the scope, you got that crosshair on there, it's wiggling around on you, and you have a tendency to jerk the trigger or so with that. Well, I figured with the iron sights, you don't see that motion as much. I'd be able to do better, but it didn't make that much difference.
So if somebody would come to you that hasn't done this before, there's always somebody that will help you, right? Train you.
Oh, yeah.
And get you into that. It's kind of addictive.
Yeah.
When you start shooting these targets.
Well, you got the worst competitor, the toughest competitor in the world. You're shooting against yourself and your own, trying to improve your bad habits.
When you're practicing, you are until you go to a meet, and then you find out that there's people on in the other teams that are pretty good too.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, it is addictive because I know that when I was into it, I couldn't wait for the following week to go shoot.
Yep.
And like you say, it's against yourself. Well, I shot this last week. Well, I think I can probably improve that this week, and sometimes you did,
Right.
But boy, so much of it is in the breathing, isn't it?
It is.
And the
breath
breathing,
control,
and, the whole thing.
Five fundamentals that you have. You got your
what's your five fundamentals?
Sight alignment, sight picture, breath control, trigger squeeze, and follow through.
Follow through.
If you screw up on one of those, you're going to miss.
It's almost like archery's the same way. Anything like that is follow through. Golf.
Yep.
Basketball too.
Basketball, the whole thing. You just got to follow through. But
correct.
So it's quite a sport. If there's folks out there that have younger people that they might think would be interested in this, maybe they hunt. They want to get into hunting.
It's a real challenging sport.
This assists your hunting too.
Yes, it
a
does.
lot.
Yeah.
As far as accuracy goes, but they wanted to get into a sport that's really competitive against yourself. And then you can still compete with a couple other teams around. This is a thing to do. And they would contact the Itasca Gun Club,
right?
Deer River
Sportsman's
Club.
Yeah.
They could call Stuart and Phyllis Anderson too.
Yep.
And we do get calls.
They what?
We do get calls
Yes.
from time to time.
Great, great. Have you had quite a few younger people get into this sport lately, or has it been kind of dwindling?
I think that especially the Itasca Gun Club, they have a group that go and practice on, I believe it's Tuesdays, and Wayne Christensen is the main stay there, and he is the guide, and also he's assisted by can't think of his name now. He's going to get me on that. But anyway, they meet weekly, about from after the New Year.
Yeah. So you've had quite a few kids come
an
in.
ongoing.
Okay.
I got your frog.
Yeah.
But anyway, he continues this, and it's very informative. Now, I also am involved in teaching, or I have been, holding matches, I should say, the high power
High
at
power.
Itasca.
Really?
Outdoors, of course.
She's been running the high power program for Itasca Gun Club ever since we moved back here, or you came back
Well, yeah.
to become active with Deer River, Grand Rapids in 1989 or something like that, 92.
And you're involved with that too?
But anyway, yeah.
I've kind of passed it. I'm shuffling it on to
Okay.
Richard Karpick, and
Okay.
he's kind of taken over.
Well,
really
they're going to have some great range out there too, aren't they? Boy,
yes.
this is really developing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even up to 1,000 yards someday in the future.
Yep.
They're talking about.
Well, he's been in on the designing of it.
Sure.
He's an
Engineer here.
well, not only an engineer, but he also is a member of the what they call the RETA, the Range Technical Team Advisors, and
For the NRA.
NRA, yeah.
Okay.
And so he
Wow.
has designed a number of clubs. Well, he designed the outdoor range at the.
Well, I designed Hibbing Range way back.
Yeah, on the Hibbing range, that's great over there. And there's certain specs you got to go by because they're national specs. Everything, if you go to every range around the country, there's certain things that are the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Except the ground you try to lay it out on.
Yeah, well, that's different, especially
Yes.
here, right? So, okay, you high power, right? Is that what you
Yes.
call it?
High power.
What's the definition? Anything above is it center fire? Or
Center fire,
Center fire.
definitely.
Basically a center fire rifle?
Normally it's a service rifle match, so it is fundamentally it was originally started out as just consisting of service rifles from the M1 Garand to
okay,
the
the
Springfield,
Army, sure.
Springfield and on back or forward for whatever the AR-15s now and so on.
Okay.
But see, we keep it pretty open at the Itasca Gun Club because we just want to get people interested
Sure.
in shooting and so on. If somebody has a high-power gun that doesn't fit that, we let them come down and shoot. And
Sure.
fit.
Sounds good.
We shoot the national match course.
Okay.
She does. She runs the whole
One thing we do is stress safety. That's
Well, you
in
have to.
all of these things.
Yes.
Whether it's firearm safety, or whether it's permit to carry, or whether it's out on the Itasca range shooting the service rifle match.
So people learn that right away when they
Well,
get in there.
if they don't learn it, they sure get yelled at.
They're gonna be
or be
told.
called aside and told that don't point the gun at anything.
Necessary
Get
part of it.
Yep, and
Yeah.
watch where you're pointing that muzzle because I mean even a lot of people think that I'll shoot at that rock up there on the hill. Well, you don't do that because that could glance and it could travel well. Even the .22 shell, they say, will carry at least a mile.
Know your backstop. That's one
Know
of the
your backstop
one of the
and
deal.
what is beyond.
Yeah. Well, you got some pictures there?
Well, there's another picture here of a typical firearm safety class. All four, shooting some of the four positions, plus the classroom, where in this case there's a...
This is the classroom. And then that's the prone.
There's a game warden there giving his, usually there's a game warden gives us
And
hour or
this
so
is
lecture
the
also on the
offhand.
hunting and safety
through
and
that.
so on.
Bring back memories.
Yeah. So that's great, Stuart. Yeah, I just can't believe you guys are still on. This is great because I go back and I'm thinking of almost my childhood, and there's Stuart Anderson, and there they are, both of them still going, and
the Lord has been good to us.
Boy,
so it depends on
it looks
when
like you got a lot more years to go here. And
well, I think back on it, it's been a real rewarding life, just because of and to me, activity is important.
Oh, it
you know, I
is.
see too many people hit retirement and become a couch potato, and
yeah, you got trophies too, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember.
We used to have trophies, especially up in Hibbing.
we used to win once in a while, but
dusting and then pass them on a little bit. But I know you've won a tremendous amount of trophies over your.
we tried out for the Olympics, but we never made it. But
Well, you have some. You
had
have
good
competition.
fortune, though. In a small town like Hibbing or
Yes.
in Grand Rapids, we've had the opportunity to compete with an Olympic champion.
Isn't that something?
We had a fellow here, we had Gordon Terrace up in Hibbing. He was an engineer with Bechtel. While he shot with us for several years, he was a former Olympic shooter.
Wow.
And we have Matt Emmons here. Yeah. I have on my computer Matt Emmons shooting, a picture of him there. And I usually open up with a training course or something. That'll be on my computer, the picture. I say, anybody recognize this person? Nobody knows him from Adam, I says. In Europe, he'd have been just as famous as Cassius Clay or something. Just because the shooting is so important to people. But he's been a gold medal, or a silver medal winner twice in the Olympics, and this year.
What a better area to start out than Itasca
And he
County.
lived here right in Itasca County.
You got the woods and the waters, and like we say, the wildlife, and your hunters, and guns are a big part of life here.
Yep.
And firearms, and boy, target shooting. What a way to start out. Mm-hmm. It got me involved and got me interested throughout a career. I collect cartridges now because of that, and from years ago, and it's just a great sport.
Back in the old days, we went to a one-room school, or I did, and during hunting season, the boys would bring their guns along with them, take them home, and hunt on the way home.
That's the way it was.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is great. I'm glad you came in. And people will learn a little something. You've passed a little information on. Okay. They know a little more about our iconic shooting couple here in Itasca County.
And the Itasca County Itasca Gun Club is one club you can contact.
Yep.
Another is the Deer River Sportsman's Club. And
Phyllis and the Stuart Anderson's number is in the phone book. I know that.
Oh.
Yep.
So you found it.
Yes. So thank you very much.
You betcha.
Appreciate it, Phyllis. Thank you for coming in. Stuart,
our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
And good luck in the future here, and maybe people will see you around and recognize you a little bit. Say,
a lot of nostalgia here going on back. There's a lot of nostalgia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, folks, for watching Just Outdoors, and stay informed.